Don't forget to record on the hard drive thing. Audio on? Hey, everybody. How are you? We're a couple minutes away from getting started, so we'll give everybody a couple minutes to join us, and we'll get going. Well, good afternoon, everybody. For those of you not on the West Coast, we're getting close to 2 o'clock here. We'll give it about another minute, and we will go ahead and get started with the next awesome Three-Ring Circus webinar. All right, everybody. Well, good afternoon and welcome. It's great to see so many of you, and I see a lot of names. We got a lot of people listening on phones and in cars and in places. As always, we do these live, but that's and we're grateful and happy to have as many people here as possible. But of course, like so many things we do here at Three-Ring Circus, we record this, and it exists online for everyone else to watch. And we always have a number of people joining us. But we have many, many more that join us in the days and weeks that follow. So if you never get it, for those of you here, if you don't get a chance to watch it live in the future, remember that's always an option for everyone watching it recording. Remember, you can always join us live. Matt's nice enough on our team to go ahead and send out the updates. Is that Shep Hyken picking his teeth, perhaps, up there on his cell phone? Oh, he's driving. Very cool. All right, everybody. Well, today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about sales, both our mindset and some of the approaches and tactics that we're using. As we come into the new year, you know, it's always obviously a good time to sort of reset and reground yourself and figure out what the priorities are. And for us and for me personally, I'm very, very focused on selling and looking at what our targets are for the year, how that breaks down into our targets for the month. And what we need to be doing each and every day and each and every week to make sure that we're going ahead and we are hitting not only hitting those targets but hopefully exceeding them. One of the little hacks that we do internally is we figure out what our goals need to be obviously every month to hit our annual target, but we focus a lot on what our targets really should be for the month to kind of overachieve by 10, 15, 20%. And the reason for that is twofold. Obviously, if we can beat your numbers, that's fantastic. But it also allows an opportunity to make sure that we're ahead if there's a month in the future where we might fall a little bit behind. Obviously, some things don't always go the way you hope, and sometimes there's some challenges in what it is that we're doing or that you're doing, and getting ahead a little bit can be helpful. Some of our strongest years have been years where, you know, we might have had a bad month or a bad couple months, but, you know, if May and June aren't that strong, but you're coming through April and you're already 20% of your target and you miss a speech or two, it ends up working out just fine. So that's something we practice and we continue to do this year as well. As we start every year, you know, we have these 5 P's of sales that we talk about: place and price and promotion, product and process. We go through them extensively at boot camp. For those of you that are part of our Backstage Pass, we have a whole series in there. We have 60 plus hours of videos and knowledge that we share and all kinds of documentations and plans. But one of the series of Abengut's 5 or 6 videos covers the 5 P's of sales. So those are something that we review internally. I look at all the time, and making sure that we're doing each of those things, not only as well as we maybe have done it in the past, but finding out where the soft spots are, taking a look at those, and also trying to raise our game to the next level. So for this year, there's a few things that we're really focused on. First of all, we're studying the ones that got away. It's always been a great learning opportunity for us to not just study when we win a deal, but to study when we lose a deal, to go ahead and make sure that we, as much as we can, follow up with that client and understand why it is that they didn't go with us. Sometimes they picked another speaker, sometimes they picked another, and sometimes that could be for various reasons. Maybe they picked another speaker because they're more famous. They wanted to get butts in seats, or they picked another speaker because they were delivering more value. They were giving more for the dollar. Maybe they were cheaper and there was a budget concern. Maybe they picked another speaker for the wrong reason. And objectively, that choice of another speaker was not the right choice, that you would be a better choice. But that happened because there's a marketing issue. So what we can learn from there. That also is true on the bureau side as well. We talk a lot about direct deals, but with bureaus, it's the same thing. When you get that sort of email from a bureau that says, hey, you can go ahead and release the hold on July 15th, they're not going to move forward. I always immediately respond with an email or sometimes a phone call and say, hey, thank you so much. No problem at all. We win some, we lose some. We'll get the next deal. But hey, do you have any color as to why we may not have won this deal? And sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they're not in control of the sales process. Sometimes it went to another bureau or they booked directly. But oftentimes there's more of a story to it. They say, oh, they really like Josh, or but there was some executive there that had someone else they already knew, or it was down to between 2 speakers, but they liked so-and-so because they were more well-known, or they really had this unique bend on creativity or the story they told. Whatever it is, those are all opportunities to take a look and say, hey, what could we do differently the next time to go ahead and figure out what might be an opportunity to do things differently. And I think we have someone who's not on mute. It might be here at our own office. I'm not sure, but if we're not asking a question or speaking, if we could jump on mute, that would be super helpful. So the next thing that we looked at coming into this year is removing sales distractions. Trying to look again at our process, like we've never done it before, and just start fresh and say, all right, if we were designing our sales process from the beginning, what would we do? What would we include in it? What would we remove for it? What would make the process as easy as possible and as least filled with friction as we can? One thing that I've seen happen more and more, which is an opportunity on our end to clean things up, is when clients are asking about topics. So for Josh's brand, we include a number of topics, like many of you do and many speakers should do. We include a number of topics, and we put them on the website, and we share them with bureaus and other folks. And they come in and they say, gosh, I'm really interested in Josh, but I'm not sure exactly what's the right topic here. Should I go with the gravity-defying leader, or is this one about hacking innovation? Is that a better topic? And I find that sometimes, while it's helpful to sell in certain instances, in many instances it can be distracting because the client or the prospect is stuck on which topic they might want to choose, as opposed to trying to figure out just trying to get the deal done and trying to get it across the board. So a lot of times I'll say things like, oh, that is an awesome question. I'm so glad we're talking about it. I have an idea. Let's do this. Just so you know, all of these topics, while are certainly possibilities, a lot of times are just thought starters. They're ideas that we've had. There's things that we've delivered in the past. But with Josh, everything he does is highly customized. And so as a part of a series of conversations that he's going to have with you, either before the booking or certainly after the booking, we can go ahead and ask a lot of questions and really try and dive in and understand how we can make the biggest possible impact and deliver the best possible speech. So what I would encourage is, let's go ahead, if we think Josh is the right fit here, let's go ahead and have that call with him, and let's go dive in and you can see how he brainstorms in real time, ask questions, and we can figure out together what the right topic could be. It might be a flavor of one of the things that I've shared with you or is on the website, but it might also be something else altogether. And so that's something new that I've been really focused on to make sure that we're not losing deals on topics, and is helping overall enhance our process for how we're going ahead and selling in the new year. Another thing that we're focused on is always making sure people are feeling understood, that we're able to make sure we understand the problem and the pain that they're in, and so that we're offering a solution that targets directly towards that pain. And that always comes from certainly listening really well, but also from asking really, really, really strong questions. And so I make sure in most instances, unless it's just so transactional, I'm asking questions like, sort of the obvious stuff, first of all. Hey, what logistic stuff? When is this meeting? Who's going to be there? What's the setup like? Things like that. But also, what are the key points that you want to make sure that Josh is delivering here? Is there anything that he should avoid? What's going on specifically in your business as it relates to the industry? And if I know a lot about the industry, or at least enough to be dangerous, I might say something like, "Hey, I know that the wine business is exploding, but it sounds like you might be having some challenges. What are those, and how could we help with them?" Things like who's going to be there and how people might like to learn. Or if Josh were to get off stage and he asks you and says, on a scale from 1 to 10, what is, how'd I do? And you were to say, oh, wow, that was a 12. I want to know what a 12 looks like and sounds like and feels like. So by asking those questions, you get two things. One, they understand that you understand what it potentially takes to go ahead and deliver a really high quality presentation and what working with your team is like. But it also provides a lot of answers, because then you can go ahead and I can go ahead and tailor the sales process to address those specific things. I can use words that they're using when they answer those questions and things back to me. Now, of course, if it's something that's completely out of line, if it's something I don't feel like we're truly experts in, we'll always recommend someone else, or be honest and tell them that, because we don't want to ruin a relationship or get on stage and do a very average or mediocre performance. But if it's anything within the vein of what we speak about, and if it's anything in the vein of what you speak about, it's a great opportunity to ask those questions and listen for 5 or 10 minutes, and then come back with some very specific ideas and solutions and suggestions to deliver a killer keynote. Another area of focus for us this year is practice. We spend a lot of time practicing our craft, practicing the speech, how we're gonna tell this story, how we're gonna stand on stage, when are we gonna walk this way, where are we gonna move our arms that way. What we like to think about, and something that we're really doubling down on this year, is making sure that we're spending as much time practicing selling as we are practicing speaking. We like to make sure that there's a one-on-one ratio. For every hour that we spend on stage, or more so for every hour we practice and rehearse and do research and prepare to speak on stage, we're spending an equal hour practicing and preparing and rehearsing to sell. Obviously, you're not going to, as much as we want to be on stage and do a great job, but we're never going to get there without having the best possible sales process. So we do this 1 hour to 1 hour ratio. We do a lot of drills internally. We call each other around the office and say, I'll say to, hey, Joe, this is Jordan from Josh from the marketing team over at P&G. I'm interested in booking Josh Linkner for an upcoming keynote. Can I ask you a few questions? And we just kind of go off on that. We use standard stuff. We kind of mix it up for a few surprises. We'll call one another sometimes when we're driving somewhere and just want to fire off calls. Someone on the office will answer. I'll say, hey, it's Jordan, and this person pretends that she's Sharon from another organization. Well, those are great ways to kind of improve your game, especially when you're a little bit surprised and you're not ready to rehearse for it. Just as it makes the keynote better, it obviously makes the sales process as well. We always review our list of objections and responses. We have sort of the standard objections, like the key 15 things that we always hear, and we want to make sure we nail, but we also put some on there that are more obscure, something that we're now hearing for a new time, trying to figure out, hey, did the industry change? Is something different in our business? Or do we slip? Are we not explaining things as clearly as we could or we used to? And that's why that objection is coming up. Another tip I know a lot of speakers do is they find another speaker. They find a partner that they can go ahead and get on a phone with and get on a video or Zoom call with and go ahead and practice selling to one another, especially if it's someone you're not competitive with. There's so many topics and so many great speakers out there, people that are growing. It's a great opportunity to share knowledge and say, how are you doing this? How are you overcoming this objection? What do you say in this situation? And it's been a great tool for me. It's Josh, our entire team, and I know other speakers have really thrived with that. So we talk about how this is a fishing business, that it's, a lot of businesses are hunting businesses, and we don't believe that the speaking business really is that. We've done some of it to some degree, but we found that the best bait you can put in the water, the best chum, the best lures, the fanciest looking stuff, the better that is, the better our marketing game is, and the better that we make sure that we're there when a client has an opportunity, the more that we sell. So as part of that, it's about always providing new material, the new great stuff, new things that makes clients be interested in what it is you have to offer. And even when we're winning, that's an opportunity not to kind of sit back and relax, but it's an opportunity to reinvest and really take our game to the next level. We've done a number of things over the last 6 to 8 months, many of which are coming to fruition right now, which we believe is going to be very helpful for us in 2019. We're already seeing early results of that. So many of you know we released a new speaker video late last year. It's been shared with many of you. It's out at joshlinkner.com. You can take a look. But that video is, I believe, a significant improvement over what we had before. And it's not to say there's anything wrong with it, what we had before, but every couple years it's time to sort of up the game and take things to the next level, and that's what we really tried to do. We've done it with other things. That's been done in conjunction with a new website that, after many months of work and a lot of copywriting and design and really thinking through how to structure it and what the sales process is like, we released a new website this past weekend on Sunday. So you'll see it out there. You can go take a look. We put together a new bureau package. We redesigned what we've done before and made sure that there's some not only fresh material but a new approach to it, that it matches our brand, and it includes some things that we think would be helpful to get us marketed well and get deals done. We launched something that we've never done before. We built our own specific kind of internal password protected website for bureaus only. So instead of just sending them this package, which is cool, it has all the stuff, we take them to a place that has all the assets digitally. And on top of it, has some videos from me and from Josh Josh explains the brand and how he's, what he does when he's on stage and how he likes to work with clients. And I spend a number of minutes on there helping a bureau agent when they have a sales issue and say, here's from our experience what works really well when we're selling Josh, and here's what doesn't. And so if we can take a few minutes and give that content to someone else so that they can borrow it and use it, we all win together a lot more. And it's not to say that one of us is a better salesperson than they are, or vice versa. Oftentimes, they're amazing salespeople. But when you are a speaker or someone on your team is working with you, you clearly have an advantage to talk about your stuff and sell your stuff over anyone. And so if you can take a little bit of that knowledge and share it in a way that helps a bureau be more successful, that is something that we feel would be really helpful and is something we're trying on a much larger scale this year. And then the other thing that we did, we just literally executed it and sent this out yesterday, so no one's even gotten it yet. But along with our new website and our new bureau package and bureau site and our new speaker video that came out late last year, we sent a little gift. We have this Find Your Spark campaign, so we sent this cool spark generating creme brulee type thing, and with the marketing material and explanation and introduction to our new Speaker Bureau website to try and give people something tangible to hold. It's got our cool logo on it. They can put it up on the shelf. But we wanted to make sure that we're communicating in as many ways as possible. So we're doing it via phone, via email. We're doing it on a website. We're sending them physical packages, both reminder postcards and small token gifts that are branded appropriately. In as many ways as we can hit them, both in the weeks coming up to this one and in the number of weeks that follow with our campaign, with some of the other things we have coming. The best position we believe will be to win in 2019 and kind of take what we did last year and say that was good, but how do we take our game to the next level? And again, it's not cheap, but when it's one thing when you need to invest in a position where you're trying to grow your business, but it's also equally important, no matter what level you're at, to be investing to not only sustain but to try and grow from there. The competition only gets more fierce, and the innovation only happens at a faster pace. So I have some other things to share today, but I wanted to take a pause there. I know it's a lot of information, a little bit about kind of what we're doing coming into the new year. And I was curious if anybody had any questions I'd be happy to answer, or if anybody else is open to it. I'd love to hear some of the things that other people are working on at the beginning of this year to try and sell more and ramp up and serve customers better. Any ideas or questions? Anything exciting anybody's doing?
Hi, this is Susan. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Susan. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Great. Good to see you.
Thanks. So I have two things, actually. My website also just launched. So I would love for you to have a look at that and give me whatever feedback. That goes to everyone on the call, susanschoenfeld.com. But my issue is, until now, I've not been charging a speaking fee. First, I was using it as a business development technique. Mm-hmm. And we're more lately as a means to gather video footage. And it's been an awkward conversation in the few instances I've had where people have invited me to speak. And so I'm looking for any advice you or anyone on the call would have for how to bring up that conversation when I'm being asked to speak at an event, and to go ahead and say, well, now I'm charging a speaking fee because I'm a professional keynote speaker.
And now, are these people that you have spoken to before where you didn't charge? So these are like previous clients, if you will?
Some are, some aren't. And certainly the previous clients, it's a lot more awkward, but in some cases it's a referral from someone that had seen me speak and just assumes that I'm not going to charge. And I've had a couple of those conversations where it's just been a really awkward conversation. So that transition from not being a paid speaker to being a paid speaker, I'm looking for some guidance on making that transition.
Yeah, we certainly know what that's like. We've gone through it, and it also happens not only when you're transitioning from unpaid to being paid, but even if you give someone a big discount and you say, look, this is just a one-time only thing, nevertheless, they come back a year later and they're shocked when you want to charge more, right? As you know, and you can't blame them. We would do the same thing probably. So a couple thoughts, a couple ideas. First thing is to just, for me, I always try and position in my head as though that charging for what we do is not something really you want to feel bad about, or certainly to have that in your mindset. You're delivering so much value. You have a lifetime of incredible experiences. You're awesome on stage. And if the fact that a bunch of people can get together and you're able to share that wisdom with so many of them, not only helps them, it helps their organizations, helps the people that are bringing you in. And starting to feel that sales from that perspective is not a non-valuable thing. It's just as valuable. What you're bringing is just as valuable as anything else. As an attorney, or if you're charging your clients for what you do for them, there's really no difference between those two. And so a lot of times when I would get in that situation, I realized that I was struggling with trying to wrap my head around that positioning and making sure that I'm thinking about things in the right way. Another thing to do is just say, hey, in the past I was fortunate enough that, or not fortunate enough that I wasn't so busy that I had to charge for these things, but there's just a somewhat of a demand on my time, and I'm getting more and more requests for this information. And so while, I used to be able to do this a number of times a year and not charge for it, it's just not reasonable anymore. And perhaps you give them a discount, so there's some transition. Perhaps you cut some other sort of unique opportunity or new way to do it. But I think there isn't always a great smooth way to kind of deal with something that may just be a little bit awkward. You may have to turn some things down, and that's okay. There's a whole bunch of conferences out there that never pay speakers. Those are obviously the ones that we don't want. It's okay to do that once in a while, but we're trying to find the ones that obviously do pay high dollar values.
Thank you.
So, yeah, absolutely. And great about your site. I'm excited. I'll take a look certainly after this. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'd appreciate your feedback. Thanks.
Sure. Any other questions or thoughts on sales related things as we begin 2019?
Hey, Jordan, it's Scott.
Hey, Scotty.
A couple things. How's everybody? Susan took a look at your website this morning, and well done. Kudos to your team. Great stuff. And if Shep's still on here, thanks for writing that book. The Convenience Revolution was awesome. So a lot of tips from the website, from Susan's and Shep's book. After the last conference, one of the things that resonated with me was the speed of response. And so I launched the campaign and had 4 opportunities come by, and I responded immediately, uploaded my storyboard, and I got shortlisted on 2 the next day. And then also I've got to look at the under evaluation for the other one. Then the next day, once I saw that, I FedExed them a little thank you card and an easy button that says it's easy to do business with Scotty. So I think the takeaway from the last boot camp was speed wins and responsiveness wins. So I wanted to, that was a takeaway from me, is how could I respond quicker, efficiently, in my own way, and wanted to pass that along to the group. That really worked out well for me this month.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Good stuff. I love that button thing. That's amazing. Anybody else have anything they want to share?
Hey, Jordan. Ben here.
Oh, hey, Ben.
Hey, everybody. So just on the sales tip, how do you guys follow up with, let's say you have incoming requests and you either get the gig or you don't get the gig. Do you have a strategy for follow up in a 6 months, a year, or do you put them on your mailing list so you just feed them the newsletters and content? Or like, what's your strategy around that type of outreach in CRM?
I'll tell you what kind of what we're doing, and then obviously I'd love to hear what other people do. I know, Shep, you have a lot of experience with this, and you do a ton of direct business for a long time. But real quickly for us, this is something that we've traditionally not been very good at. We are good at sort of winning new business, but not always so great at following up on people that we work with in previous years or previous people that there was an opportunity and we just didn't win the deal for one reason or another. And we hired actually someone on our team, a guy named Joe, because we wanted to make sure that everybody starts with a J that works here. But we hired a guy named Joe, and his entire job is following up on that stuff. So we've gone back historically to everybody that we've ever talked to, everyone that we've ever sold anything to, and we're making sure in a very systematic way that we're following up with them. That we know that if they reached out 1 year on October 2nd for an opportunity on February 15th, that we're calling them a couple weeks before October 2nd and saying, hey, we saw that you're scheduling or it looks like you're holding the same whatever conference in this time frame in Las Vegas. We'd love to talk to you. I know we couldn't make it work last year, but hopefully we'll make it work this year and share something new that we're doing. In our case, a video, website, topic, article, something that's relevant. And so doing that as part of a system. So now every single day, every single week, we get these alerts that say, here's the people that need to follow up today. Where before I was doing that as best as I can to keep up, but it was probably more than I could do. So that's our system. It's not super fancy. It's probably got lots of room for improvement, but Shep or anybody else, I'd love to hear what you guys do. You hold your finger up.
I'm unmuted.
Oh, there we go.
And I jumped from my car to my office, which is hard to do this while you're driving. That's for sure. Hey, do you use eSpeakers, Jordan?
We do still use eSpeakers in combination with a couple other things, but yes.
Right. Well, the nice thing about eSpeakers, and for those that aren't familiar with eSpeakers, it's if you think of the CRM as a database where you keep all your clients and all the information about them, eSpeakers is about the event. So whether it's an event that's put on hold or an event that actually takes place, it's the hub for all events. What's nice is once you put something on hold, there's a history, and you can go back and say, okay, who put me on hold at this time last year that I should be connecting with? And so that's one way of keeping track. Obviously, with a good CRM, you could just put a reminder in there to give you a call, but it might give you a bigger picture to look at the event and start to build out that profile. Also, the nice thing is I could show you, I've got a file at the end of the year. I have a file that's about that thick of every interaction, financial interaction I have with any of my clients or customers. That could be books, training, whatever. I go through, I pull out all of the worksheets, and we have a form. Looks something like this. And for every speech, we fill this out. And I go through all those worksheets, and we'll go back like 10 years worth of them and say, okay, who haven't we talked to in the last 10 years? Who hasn't booked us? Why haven't we worked with this client? So we take a look at the history of the last 10 years. And, just it's a good thing. We did that last year. I don't do that every year, but that's just a nice little exercise to go through. Who's being dropped through the cracks?
Nice. That's good. Shep, do you treat I imagine you're following up on everybody, people that held a date, people that booked a date,
Yep.
people that emailed you and you responded 6 times, they never wrote back, and you just everybody kind of goes in that bucket.
Actually, I have something that might be of interest for everybody. When somebody acts like they're interested and they ask you to send information, so some people just do that to get you off the phone. But
right.
If we legitimately believe that there is an opportunity there, and then they don't respond, we have something called the Please Help Me letter. Have I ever talked about this? No.
I don't think so.
So it basically goes like this. The subject of the email is Please Help Me. And so, Dear Jordan, please help me. I'm not sure what to do. A month ago, you expressed interest in Shep coming out to speak to your event, whatever it is, and you asked us to send you all kinds of information, blah, blah, blah. Since that time, I followed up with you 3 times. Now, I don't want to become overly aggressive and get you upset, but at the same time, if I stop contacting you, I don't want you to think that I don't care anymore. So would you please respond with one of the 3 answers below? The first one, yes, I want to talk to you. Please call me. Yes, I want to talk to you, but now's not a good time. Please call me, with a blank behind it. And the third is, please don't ever call me again. And in parentheses, I put, I hate when people check this one off. And it is amazing how, I guess, the high percentage of people that will respond to that email.
Wow.
So
that's really good. That's really good. I saw a similar version of that one time, but this is better. But the similar thing, but their subject was, I guess it's over, ...
Yes, it's over. Call it a Marilyn McCoo song. Yeah.
That's good. Do you, what percentage of people would you say respond in one way or another to that email? Because
80%.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how often do they say, no, leave me alone, I don't want to ever talk to you again? Which is not a bad thing either. Oh, really?
That's meant to be funny.
Okay.
And I think people would say that they don't want to, they'd say, hey, we're going another direction, but it's not that they don't want to hear from you again.
Wow.
They just, they're off doing their own thing and they leave you behind. And that's the way it is in business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Someone raised their hand a second ago. Yeah.
You know what percentage of the people respond to that email? Please help me. Almost all of them, she says.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Good stuff.
Ryan here. Sorry for joining late, but
right,
I love this strategy. One thing that I've done that works really well is a 4-email approach, and it's pretty interesting. The first is just your regular email, snazzy subject line, whatever it is. You give them a few days to get back to you. They don't. You take the same email and you forward it. What happens is that it keeps the message nice and tight up in the body of the paragraph. Replace FWD with friendly follow-up. And then the email is just a friendly follow-up on the email below. You send it, wait a few days. Then if they don't respond again, you forward that same chain, so it's up nice and tight, and then you change friendly follow-up with second request. And you say, just another request on the information below. Then you send it, you wait a few days, but the magic happens if they don't, is the final time you put third request. Now there's something psychological about the third request, and I feel people are sometimes more motivated by not getting in trouble. So now there's this very clear chain of command that says, I gave you the information, friendly follow-up, second request, third request. And I've had more people jump back on the third request, and I think it's because they don't want me to be able to take that and forward that on up the chain. So especially if you're trying to get their attention, which is a little different than except saying you're following up. But that 3-pronged approach, there's something magical about that because they see it, they don't look at it, they see it again, then they see it, and the third request is kind of like this, okay, I'm going to dive in. So just sharing that.
That's really good. I kind of feel like with magazine subscriptions, which I don't subscribe to many magazines anymore, but you always get that, like when they're trying to get you to resubscribe and they tell you your subscription's running out like 4 years in advance. But there's always that one that says like third request or final request, got like this fake red stamp on it. And you are right. There is something psychological like, oh, I need Motor Trend. I need to resubscribe to it. That's exactly right. Really good.
What was the second one, Ryan?
Yeah, so the first is a regular email. And then I replace it with friendly follow-up.
Yeah.
And then you still keep the same subject line. You just put this in front. And then the third email is actually second request.
Okay.
And then the fourth email is third request. So you actually give them one in the bag, but there's something that they're reading your subject line. They might see it. They haven't read it. And then it's easy. It's nice and packaged tight. For people who are trying to reach out, I use that to help advise them to get that initial contact, or it can also be used as follow-up.
Got it. Cool. Thank you. Hey, Jordan, or anybody on the call, does anybody actively reach out to conferences in the area that they're speaking to try and solicit engagements and try to entice people with, I'm going to be I'm speaking at this conference. I noticed that yours is the next day. I'm already there, so there wouldn't be a travel fee. It looks like it's a good fit. Do you mind if I send you some information?
I'll tell you what we do, and obviously I'd love to hear what other people do. I don't know that we do that in that way where we reach out sort of blindly to a conference, although it might be a successful strategy. One thing that we do is I'll keep records of sometimes when I talk to somebody who has an event in a certain city where there isn't perhaps the budget to make it work, and there also isn't, or they have an opportunity to do it at any time. Like, hey, I'd like to have a meeting with my entire leadership team. We meet once a month. It's always different. I'd love to have you come to one of those meetings, but I couldn't do it in that month. And so then they may have a reduced budget. But if I know that Josh is going to be in Los Angeles all of a sudden, and I know that it's in Los Angeles, I know it's in 3 months, I can go call this person up and say, hey, Josh is going to be there. If you can make it work on this Tuesday or Wednesday when he's going to be in town, we would happily accommodate the reduced fee and do that. So I have probably 8 or 9 of those things that are always sort of floating out there over the years that I try and stay on top of.
Great, cool. Yeah, I have a friend that does that with conferences, and he looks them up on a website, finds the meeting planner, reaches out, and he said that he gets, about 1 in 7, 1 in 10 emails he'll get an engagement, which just seems pretty high, but it's
wow.
It's just interesting because you're there, so it's a great way to double up. But I was just curious if anyone else had done that. I've tested it, but I haven't gotten anything.
The eSpeakers platform will allow you to track when you've had a client in a city that you didn't work for, and then when you go to book an engagement, you can say what's happening, or who are my past clients, who are the clients that had me on hold that didn't go through, as well as it'll suggest Chamber of Commerce. They used to have a media page on there with media, but it's just a great resource. The other thing to consider, and I'm not doing an ad for eSpeakers. It's just I was ready to drop eSpeakers after I don't know how many years, and then we just in the last few months they met with us and said, "Well, you're not using us the way you should." And as soon as they taught us what we weren't doing, we went, "Holy cow, we're not going to get rid of it." But they have a way for people to sign up to find out when you're going to be in their area, and I think it's either a 60 or 90 mile radius of the zip code. And it will just inform them, Shep's in your area during this time. So I know today I saw an email come through from them that had like 15, 18 people who received an email saying Shep's going to be in your area, or here's where Shep's going to be speaking. I can't remember what it said, but it's something to that effect. So every once in a while we get that call. Hey, I see you're going to be in our area.
So Jordan,
yeah,
McAvoy, if I can ask a question.
Hey, yeah, sure.
Might be a little bit off topic, but to build on what Shep just said, I'm early in this process. I just got my first onstage video. I'm doing another one in February, doing a focus group, and have all the content. Website's going to be up in March, starting to plan a rollout in April. Mm-hmm. And I've been looking at eSpeakers, and I wonder if folks have, well, first of all, I'd like to hear the general wisdom from the group on how to get started, right? But eSpeakers particularly, they have packages where they talk about, published directories and being able to access. Is that worthwhile?
I did it one time, and it was not successful. I forgot what they call it. It's basically a blast. You can send out a speaker. I don't remember the word for it, but once a year, I think you can blast their database. You pay them $150 for a month. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly, but I remember that it wasn't successful. Now, it was a number of years ago, and it could have been not successful because it was a number of years ago because we sent the wrong stuff out. I don't even remember what we sent. So I don't know. That's what our experience was, but I don't know if that's a good data point necessarily not to try it. It is relatively inexpensive for the volume of people. Shep, have you tried it?
There are numbers. I have not, because there's a number of speakers that have the same success or lack thereof that you have. Here's the thing about eSpeakers. If you look at it as it will get you business, they claim it will. They get you in, I guess the MPI directory, they're doing something with that. They do put you into some directory, but here's the thing. The one that does count is there's, I don't know how many speaker bureaus use eSpeakers as their version of populating a page on their website. So, for example, I can go to different bureaus that I know have pushed me, or at least I've heard from them. Maybe they've taken an order, and I'll say, "Oh, I didn't even realize I was listed." And I go on there, and it's my eSpeakers profile. And the beautiful thing about that, and I think we had at one point like 80 bureaus had my page on their site. If I go to update my fee in my profile, it updates it across the platform and theirs as well. It's kind of a cool thing. If I go to add another book that I've written to my profile, it does it across the platform. So it supports you a little bit on the speakers, the bureau side. And I just don't know how much business you're actually going to get as a result of doing e-speakers. I would look at it as a tool similar to CRM.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. And what about generally a discussion about how'd you get started? What's the most productive way to begin the journey after you've got
You've
videotape?
been to Josh's program?
Yeah, I went to the boot camp. Yeah,
Step one.
That was step one, and that was great. And I wouldn't be on this journey if I didn't have that map. But it's that first step I think is crucial and important. I got to do it right.
Isn't there that 90-day sprint or whatever?
Yeah, there's an action plan that we kind of hand out, and I think it's in the back of the workbook. That's really kind of at least our best recommendation for sort of what to do and how to follow it. It sounds like some of those things have already been done in your case, but
right. I'm working off that. I've got the book right over here. And it, little commercial for Three-Ring Circus.
All right, there it is.
Gone, you should go. And I'm working off of it, but maybe this is a side conversation, but there's like a gap, like that first launch, that first blast. What do you do? How do you get how do you get out there? That is sort of a glitch for me in the timeline.
Hey Jim.
Jordan, I'll jump on this real quick.
Oh, sure, Shep.
And Scott, you've gone through this most recently, but I'll just share it. I don't care if it's your first starting out. If business gets slow or comes to a halt, if the economy does something crazy, it's going to cause business to drop off because companies are just not going to have the confidence to book like they're currently doing. So the easiest way in my mind, you may not find it easy, but the direct way is to pick up the phone and smile and dial. And you create, this is what we do. So I'm going to share from experience. When I first started, I did this for many years. Back when the Great Recession hit 10 years ago, my friends who were speaking a lot were no longer speaking because when fish jump in the boat, it's not fishing, all right? It's the best way to describe it. We picked up the phone. We smiled, we dialed. You can go to a magazine, a business magazine. This is what I did initially. Pulled out all the full-page ads. If they're big enough to have a full-page ad in a magazine, they have a sales force because they're selling something. Chances are I'm going to be a fit for a meeting of one of these people. And I would research to get their phone numbers, and then I would pick up the phone, and I would call, and I'd ask to speak to the office of the president. I don't want to speak to the president. I want to speak to the support people in that office. And I would ask, can you please help me know who I'm supposed to talk to about who puts together these meetings? Now, maybe if you can get a VP of sales, if you're in a sales arena, or a VP of marketing, you can go direct to those offices too. But you would ask, I need help, want to know who I talk to. And you just start smiling and dialing. Out of 100 phone calls, I could tell you our exact percentages. We would probably connect with, when we finally got the right people and the right name, we'd probably connect with just under 15%. Of those 15%, somewhere around 12 to 15% would say they were interested. And now you see what's happening. About for every 100 contacts we're making, and actually contacts, not calls, we're getting 1 to 2 people that say they're interested. Yeah. You build up those 1 or 2 people to become 100, 150, and all of a sudden you're going to have this universe to work with. And if you just market to that list, you'll find yourself starting to book dates.
Yeah. Yeah. Not adverse to doing that. I've been in sales.
Hey,
done it. Yep.
One thing to throw out, guys, is just not necessarily a selfish plug, but that is the magic question you're asking. And I have a podcast called The World of Speakers, worldofspeakers.com. And literally, Josh has been on my show, and I hunt down all these amazing speakers, and I get to know their tips. But one of the questions I always ask them, which is about a third of the show, is how do you get on more stages? So I've got 50 plus episodes. They're all great speakers. A few of them I actually met at the boot camp. So if you want to check it out, podcast would be one, worldofspeakers.com. That's a question I'm curious to answer, but it is dynamic and it's fun to get different people's opinions. So just throwing that out there.
That's great. Thank you.
Awesome. Wonderful suggestions.
Yeah. And Jim, to echo off of what Shep said, he had helped coach me the same thing. And I did the smile and dial. It worked out very well. I also went knocking on doors face to face. It was a differentiator for me. And I also, Shep gave me a lot of good advice. I also signed up for the NSA, and then I signed up for Speaker Match. And it seemed expensive at first. You seem as a newbie, you're dying a death by 1,000 cuts as money's flying out the door for everything. However, to Shep's point, in just January so far, it's $49 a month, and I started it about 6 months ago. I've landed about $8,000 worth of opportunities, and as Shep said, one of them will pay for that itself. And
no, I don't know that one, Scotty. Tell me, Speaker Match.
Speaker Match, and what it helped me do is it created a profile, much like you're probably going to create when you go to the Speaker Bureau. It helped me start that, so that when I was ready to go to the Speaker Bureau, it's still going to take some time. I had a really good framework on, my storyboard, my differentiator, why Scotty, a lot of other videos in there, and the responses are very good in January, and I think it gives you a really good framework. And once you see that you've moved from looked at to undecided to shortlisted, I do a couple other things. I send an easy button to them, Federal Express, and then a couple weeks later, I send them. Everybody gets one of these, no matter what. It's a thank you card. Thank you for at least considering me for this particular opportunity, and then I put it in the CRM with a follow up. So it's a very, as a rookie, early stages, it's a very good opportunity to design a framework that's going to point you in the right direction.
That's excellent. Thank you. I'll check out Speaker Match. Are there other platforms out there, other sites like Speaker Match and eSpeakers that I should be looking at and considering?
Those are the two that go ahead.
Speaker Hub is, they are a similar platform. They're still getting traction. They actually sponsor the podcast, so I'm pretty familiar with them, and I know the people that run it, so it's not a fly-by-night. But like any of these platforms, it's a double-sided market, right? So you can have speakers on one end and then event planners on the other. So it's really it's how well they connect.
Yeah, I've seen theirs, and that was interesting too. I should have mentioned that.
But Speaker Hub, you can check out for sure.
Yeah.
I will say on Speaker Hub, one of the things all for speakers. So at their VIP level, I believe, which is still low cost per month, they do a good job at searching and finding, and you can have a pretty targeted search. They don't have as many that are larger dollar amounts, but especially if you're looking to get your foot in the stage, there's a lot of stages that you just don't know of that will not pay you anything, but get you that kind of just get you practicing and in the groove of things. So their call for speech or search function, I believe, is pretty decent.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Great. Well, that's an awesome discussion. Wonderful questions and ideas and suggestions. Thank you for asking and answering, everybody. To kind of wrap up, I want to share something I recently ran across that has been helpful. As we focus on 2019 and really upping our overall game, we always bring in outsized tools and resources and ideas. And this is something that was recently shared by Robin Sharma, who's a speaker. He lives in Toronto and speaks all over the world and runs all these summits and has built a strong brand. And I'm going to read you some of the things that he put in this. It's really about his core distinctions between those who operate at average and those who have the guts and acumen to what he calls to operate at iconic. And I'll add a little commentary on a couple things that we specifically do. So the first thing, I think there's 9 of these. The first thing is average performers love to talk about others, where iconic producers are obsessed with discussing their dreams. The number 2 is average performers adore leisure. They know the hot TV shows, spend their finest hours playing video games, and are the first among friends to secure the latest gadget. Iconic producers are vastly different. Their addiction is learning. They invest in books, they go to conferences, mastermind with masters, and do whatever it takes to make sure their tomorrows are better than their todays. Please remember, the more you know, the more you can achieve. Knowledge is the greatness creator. And for us, we created this thing this year a lot of people call accountability partners. So for example, if we committed to 30 minutes of learning per day on a certain subject, or we committed to reading 10 books this year at a minimum, what we did is at our organization, we paired up in teams. And so that we in the teams get to devise how they're going to do this, but we hold each other accountable. Some people use an app, some people write it down, some people every morning share what they did in the last 24 hours to learn and how they're progressing against their goals. But that way, it's like kind of when you go to the gym. It's one thing to show up at the gym at 6 in the morning. It's another thing to show up at the gym at the 6 in the morning when you know a workout partner is there waiting for you. And it helps hold you accountable. It makes it a lot harder to just hit the snooze button and go back to sleep. And same thing here. If we committed to reading 2 books a month or whatever it is, you're able to do that a little bit easier. Number 3, average performers resign themselves to mediocrity, thinking that the elite are somehow smarter, faster, and cut from a different cloth. Robin calls this the myth of genius. He says, don't buy into it. Iconic producers have a different perception. They get that genius and legendary are not the result of divinely orchestrated talent. Nope, it's more about focus and discipline and sacrifice, suffering, stamina, and a ridiculous amount of hard work. They get that rising to world class is never easy, but it's always worth it. Number 4, average performers disrespect time. You'll see them waiting for hours to get a table at a cool restaurant. They buy groceries when everyone else buys groceries. They're often late and known for procrastination. Iconic producers, on the other hand, understand that time is a blessing. They use their best hours for their most important pursuits. They have a clear written plan for the next 10 years, 5 years, and this year. They schedule their days knowing that structure is the doorway into freedom. Number 5, average performers use victim speak. Everything is a mess or trouble or a problem. But the words you use drive the energy you feel. And to rise to exceptional, you need to tap into your natural reservoir of massive energy. So iconic producers leverage their words to raise their games. Their language inspires and reveals the fact that, deep within, they view themselves as captains of their fate versus powerless little pawns. Number 6, average performers stop when they're scared. Iconic producers press ahead when stricken by fear, understanding that persistence is the DNA of becoming a game changer. And that bravery is the result of practice versus a natural gift. And one little twist on that for us, when we win something, we push even harder. Like we lose, we push hard, we win, we push even harder. Because while pushing from a place of weakness is critical, we firmly believe that pushing from a position of strength is really where you can change the game and where you can make a difference in your life and in your business and the impact you leave on others. Number 7, average performers follow the crowd. Their dominant focus is to fit in, be liked, and receive tribal acceptance. Iconic producers, on the other hand, care not what others think. They've developed the confidence to think for themselves. They've set their own dreams, run their own values, and march to their personal drumbeat. That not only causes rare air success, it produces enduring happiness. Number 8, average performers are pleasure-driven. Everything they do is about fulfilling their desires and feeling good in the moment. Iconic producers are purpose-driven. They are fueled by their mighty why, that singular and gorgeous vision of a bigger future that keeps them up late and gets them out of bed early. They viscerally understand that the secret of passion is purpose, and that once you articulate your why, the hows automatically present themselves. And the last one, finally, number 9, the average performer is a pure consumer. It's all about buying and having things. Their self-identity is based on the brands, labels, and badges of the moment. Iconic producers care very little about stuff. What stokes their fire has less to do with being a consumer and a lot more to do with being a maker. For them, their compelling cause is all about using their creativity, energy, talents, and time to produce value that not only delivers their personal dreams, but also makes the world a greater place. That was something I read recently. It's been helpful to me as we start this new year. We've shared it internally. We've shared it with many of our friends, and I wanted to share it with you here today. If you're interested in it, just shoot me a quick email. You might be able to find it on his website, robinsharma.com. But if not, just shoot me an email, and I can send you an email with the copy, or I'll find a link to it. But that was something I share, and I wanted to share, and something that's helped us get started this year. That's really what we have for today. Happy to answer any other questions if there are any, or there's anything else anyone wants to update us on. And if not, we will get this up on the web for you to watch and share with your friends. And of course, we'll do this all again coming up in a few weeks. That's a buy. All right. Hi, everybody. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you soon. And we'll see some of you coming up on March 1st at the next boot camp. Take care.